Our scripture meditation for this evening is Isaiah chapter 5, verses 1 through 4. Isaiah chapter 5, verses 1 through 4. God gave many beautiful gifts and wonders to creation. Of them, music stands out as one of the most cherished gifts that we enjoy. No matter what musical genre a person prefers, everyone has that one song that touches the seat of their emotions. We appreciate those songs for different reasons. Sometimes the musical arrangement, the song's lyrics, and the vocal ability of a singer make for the sweetest sounds to reach our ears. Then there are times we love a song because it speaks to an experience in our lives. Usually, we most favor music that articulates words we cannot express, as well as appealing to something deep within us. For example, breakup songs can go a long way of reminding us of a failed love affair. A man, for example, may very well relate to the Shy-Light song, Have You Seen Her? No matter what he's doing, hearing that song can make a once broken man stop dead in his tracks as he listened to the words, 1 month ago today, I was happy as a lark, but now I go for walks, to the movies, maybe to the park. I have a seat on the same old bench to watch the children play. You know tomorrow is their future, but for me, just another day. They all gather around me. They seem to know my name. We laugh, tell a few jokes, but it still doesn't ease my pain. Well, you know the rest of the song. That song symbolizes great pain as you reflect on a lost love. Time will not permit me to talk about other sad love songs. We remember them all. You remember giving your all to someone who did not return love and the pain you felt? The main ingredient said it right. Everybody plays the fool. Sometimes we justify playing the fool by saying like Lenny Williams, 'cause I love you. Who can't relate to him when he says, I watched television until television went off, and then I played my records until I just didn't want to hear them anymore. And finally I went to bed, but I found myself waking up a few hours later, and the tears were running down my face. And we love that part when Lenny says, oh, 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 oh. Some of you all can feel that right now. You can think back to a time, to a person, to a love that makes these songs real for you, even if not for anyone else. There's probably not a hurt in the world that is as painful as that of a broken heart. When you love somebody and they don't love you back, God knows that music can express your innermost pain. When you feel that stomach-churning agony for someone who lights your fire and they resist you by turning down the flame, that's a hurt unlike anything else. Let me tell you, long before you and I knew love, long before we knew pain or music, God wrote a sad love song. You see, he loved but did not get love in return. Figuratively speaking, he sent flowers, candy, and poured out his heart only to have his heart broken. Listen to God's lyrics in Isaiah chapter 5, verses 1 through 4. Now will I sing to my well-beloved, a song of my beloved touching his vineyard. My well-beloved had a vineyard and a very fruitful hill. And he fenced it and gathered out the stones thereof, and planted it with the choicest vine, and built a tower in the midst of it, and also made a winepress therein. And he looked that it should bring forth grapes, and it brought forth wild grapes. And now, O inhabitants of Jerusalem and men of Judah, judge, I pray you, betwixt me and my vineyard. What could have been done more to my vineyard that I have not done in it? Wherefore, when I looked that it should bring forth grapes, brought it forth wild grapes. Remember verse 1 where God says that he is going to write a song. These words express the sentiments of a broken heart. The Lord's heart broke when his people, the objects of his love, did not return that love. Instead, they chose the earthly over the eternal. When the Lord provided everything he could, it did not win their love in return. Similar to a Lenny Williams who could not be satisfied with television or music, who could not find rest within himself, the Lord raises the question in verse 4, what more could I have done? That question comes from deep within. It's not a question of guilt, as if he neglected the object of his affection. It's a question of why his love wasn't good enough. Why wasn't love enough to win the heart and turn the focus to him? He mentioned having given everything and going to great lengths to cultivate a fruitful relationship. In return, he says, all he received were sour grapes. Lest this discussion delves too long into the lives of God's ancient people, those of this generation need to determine if these words still apply to those called the people of God. Some songs sing timeless because their meaning maintains relevance for years, even decades. Then there are songs that sound old and just dated. To which category does God's song in Isaiah 4 apply? Is it relevant today because mankind continually breaks his heart? Or are we so compliant and in line with his will that what's read in Isaiah is nothing more than a sad love song needing to be put on a shelf? Perhaps you surmise this song maintains relevancy because of the sin in the world. It's true that all sin breaks God's heart. The LGBTQ agenda, the corrupt world system, man's inhumanity to man, violence, and every wrong you can fathom brings heartbreak to the Lord. Keep in mind, though, the Lord's song in Isaiah 5 did not reference the world per se. Those who disappointed God were those who belonged to him. Notice again verse 3. He speaks to the inhabitants of Jerusalem and men of Judah. Those are not Gentile references or references to those outside of his chosen people. Jerusalem and Judah refer to the children of Israel. They, God's people, broke his heart. They, God's people, were the reason why God wrote this song, this sad song, to express his brokenheartedness. Before we become critics of others, we have time given to us because of this virus. Let's use that time to closely examine ourselves. We need to make sure that our living honors the Lord who redeemed us. The church belongs to him. You belong to him. I belong to him. Is he pleased with us? Is he pleased with our thoughts? Do our words honor him? Do our choices imitate his character? Do we treat others right? Do we live for him? Like the subjects of Isaiah chapter 5, the Father has made so many provisions for our lives. We have no excuse not to worship him more. We have no excuse not to serve more, to love more, forgive more, give more, and just be more. Let's not so live that God pens another sad love song because we have broken his heart. As you see, it's been broken before. As Al Green crooned, how do you mend a broken heart? If we don't break God's heart, then we need not search for the answer to that question. May God bless you to know how much he loves you. He provided so much for you. He provided so much for all of us that we could be fruitful. Is he singing, what more could I have done? Or is he singing how glad he is that we love him in return? Tune in tomorrow night and every night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time for another installment of A Few Minutes with the Minister with Words from the Master.